This is Dayton Mayor Nan Whaley, and you are listening to Carry As You Climb, the podcast that shares the stories of amazing women leaders. This week, I'm talking to Melissa Cropper, the president of the Ohio Federation of Teachers. It's great to be here on Carry As You Climb, and with my great friend Melissa Cropper, the head of the Ohio teachers, and we're so excited, the OFT as I like to call it, the Ohio Federation of Teachers, yes. But so excited that you decided to come here. And our listeners can't hear, but Melissa's wearing the great RBG necklace that so many of us have of the center's column. Oh, you have matching earrings too. Very nice. Yes. You know, so that's so nice because you're doing State House work right now, right?
Correct.
And
correct.
So, how many of the men even notice what you have on over there?
None of them have commented yet. Now, whether they notice and just don't say anything, I don't know. But I'm not sure that it has the same significance to most of the men as it does to me or to the rest of us women.
Do women pick up on it when you wear
it? Yes.
That's great.
Yes, and I did have one man when I was out one day say, "Oh, my husband has, or my wife has that necklace." So his wife was very aware of it. He knew what it was because of his wife. Yes.
Yes. Well, I had a staff person started at City Hall the first day, and she wore it, and I was like, "Oh, you're going to fit in just fine here. This is great." So I'm wearing my Breaking the Glass Ceiling today. Yes. So we're definitely wearing our women empowerment around our necks today too.
Yes.
So Melissa, I'm so glad that you decided to come on, and just wanted to say thanks for taking the time. You hold a really interesting role in leadership because you're a female leader of labor, which is kind of uncommon here in Ohio and across the country.
Yes, because I'm the president of the Ohio Federation of Teachers, which is predominantly women, obviously, but as Ohio Federation of Teachers is also part of AFL-CIO, and within AFL-CIO, there's limited women leadership, so it is kind of a unique position to be in.
And how did you get to that role, being the head of the OFT?
Well, it was kind of a different type of path in that I'm not originally from a labor family. So it's not like it was always my ambition to lead a labor union. In fact, I would dare say at some point in my time, I couldn't have really told you what a union was. But I was a school librarian, and being in the library is kind of the hub of the school. And I was hearing teachers coming to me talking all the time about, wish we could do this differently, wish we could do that differently. And I realized that the union really was a place where we could lift up our concerns about how we thought we could educate children better. And so I ran for that position locally, and then from a local level just started getting more interested in policy and how we could affect change from a state level and how we could do this to help our children. And as the mother of 5 children, it's really important to me that we're looking at, not only my own children, but my children's friends, and what do we do to help provide them a better future. And I really saw the union as an avenue for being able to do that.
And you're from Georgetown, Ohio, right?
Correct.
In the southern Ohio. And
Correct.
So what was the change coming, like being a leader locally in Georgetown and then coming to Columbus?
It was a big transition. I mean, there was a learning curve there for sure, and a difference between dealing with a local superintendent and people you've known all your life and then coming to a state level and a bigger picture. And not only dealing with policymakers at the state level, but also dealing with our other union leaders from across the state who represent, we represent Cleveland, Toledo, and Cincinnati,
right,
which is obviously a very different dynamic than Georgetown. And we represent on the sides of our states too. We have Belmont College, we have Van Wert on the other side of the state. So just beginning to understand all those differences and how do we impact change that is meaningful to all of them was it was a different dynamic for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine so. And then do you go home on the weekends, or how do you manage that time?
I try to make a home on the weekends. Fortunately, I have some family here in Columbus also, so I can kind of split my time and still spend family time on the weekends in Columbus. But spend a lot of time back and forth on the road.
Right, because you have a son that's like that plays basketball, right?
I have a son that plays basketball in Cincinnati.
Right.
He just finished his senior year, though, so that phase is ending. So I have 3 children that live in the Cincinnati area, 1 that lives in Georgetown still, and 1 here in Columbus.
Oh, wonderful.
So they're all within 2 hours.
Well,
it's not bad.
You've done a good job of keeping them all in Ohio, which is something
that's
that
what I
we
strive to do. Yes, it's one of my goals. Yes, and if they can stay within 2 hours, that's even better.
So, did you ever think you said you didn't grow up in a labor family. Did you ever think I'm going to be the head of one of the most important labor unions in the state of Ohio?
Never. Like I said, it was never on my radar. Never something I really thought about. And I think even my children still are kind of like, they're very, very proud of me, and it's not surprising to them, but it's still to think of their mother talking to the governor is something that they never imagined would happen.
Right. That's awesome. Thinking of like making that decision to run, were there folks that encouraged you? How did you go about making that decision to lead the labor union?
So unfortunately, we had our former president, Tom Mooney, died unexpectedly while he was in office. And at the time that he passed away, there were discussions about, how do we work with both our small locals and our large locals? Of being from a small local, Georgetown, I really wanted to make sure that my voice was heard. So when that vacancy came open, I made it known to people that I was interested in being president. And I was fortunate that the president of the Toledo Federation of Teachers at the time, Fran Lawrence, kind of took me under her wing and gave me an opportunity. And she said, you're probably not going to win this election this time, which I didn't win the first time I ran.
Is that right?
Yes, but she said, but we're going to start building your name recognition. We're going to start giving you opportunity, and we're going to make sure that the next time around people know who you are and that you're ready for this position. So that's kind of what happened to me. I ran, I lost, but in losing, I also got an appointment to our executive board, which gave me more exposure. And then, the people on staff at OFT looked for opportunities to put me on different committees at a state level, working with ODE and things like that. So then it just kind of grew into when the position came open again. I was better prepared for it. I had support built behind me, and I was able to win that election the next time.
Oh, that's terrific. And so it was another woman in another area that really pushed and encouraged you.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. So as we talk about this Carry As You Climb podcast that we're doing here, actually the name comes from something Connie Schultz always says. I was with her at dinner about a year and a half ago, and she said, Nan, as women leaders, we have to carry and climb at the same time because we're still, trying to get to the top of leadership, but we want to make sure we bring other people along with us. And so that's the whole thought behind the name. And so I was wondering, are there people besides Fran, the other people that have like really helped you grow in your leadership, and what have they done to make that so important?
Yes, definitely. And it hasn't always been women. I would say that, there have been men who have helped me along the way, too. I would say the former superintendent I worked under who gave me the opportunity for leadership development, and his name is Tom Durbin, and it gave me the opportunity even to be able to take professional leave to be able to do some of this union work and to encourage me to do that type of work. David Quolke, the president in Cleveland, who has been like a mentor to me during this process.
A huge leader in the movement, too. Right?
Yes, and who, understood that it was going to be a learning curve for me when I came in, but like I said, has been a mentor, and now we talk all the time about strategizing and how to work. But again, give me that space to be able to move ahead. And then even within the AFT world, obviously Randy Weingarten, national president, who has given me multiple opportunities to chair a state Fed President's Advisory Committee, to be on the Executive Council, to go on international trips to visit union leaders in other countries. So she has definitely given me lots of opportunity to be able to grow my leadership.
That's great. And what have you learned in that growth? What is there things that have changed during your time that you would do differently, or what are things that you've really learned while leading?
Well, one of the things I learned was to just have more confidence in myself than I had at the beginning. I think there was a point in time where I assumed that people, maybe because someone's a state representative or because someone's a state superintendent of education, that they automatically know more than what I do. But it really, I've learned that, my experience, what I've lived, the work I've done, raising a family, that's valuable experience, and that I need to trust my instinct, trust my own intellect, and to have confidence that I can make decisions, and that other people aren't necessarily smarter than I am or can do the job better than I can.
Yeah, I think that's the case for a lot of women, right? Because, we're not typically in these positions in leadership. This is new, relatively new.
Right.
And so I noticed that a lot, and even for myself, like you would say, oh, well, they've been doing this for years, so they obviously know, well, I'm just going to leave it alone. And then you realize, like they really, I actually do know a lot more, and I need to use my voice on it, which is something that's important for growth.
And the using your voice, I would say, is another thing that I have learned, because there's one thing to have confidence, but then, the confidence needs to lead to having the confidence to speak out when you know that you are right. So that, I would say, the last year really has been more of that growth pattern for me when looking at the last election cycle, looking at how messaging or what was or was not happening to women, and sitting in a room full of men oftentimes discussing this, really knowing that I need to speak out and say, no, you need to look at things from this perspective also, and not being afraid to say that. Or like I said, using my voice to bring my perspective to the table.
Well, as a woman, I'm certainly grateful, and woman leader, we need more women voices even in the movement here. So it's kind of interesting for us. We are all part of these organizations that care about women's issues and care about women being able to grow and grow their families and move forward, which really goes through women. Like this work goes through women directly, but there still aren't a lot of women really at the table making those discussions and making those decisions, right?
Right.
So I'm glad you're doing that.
Thank you.
That work. So talk to me a little bit about, you do a lot of work going to the State House and talking to legislators. What's that like, considering it's, been, pretty unfriendly to labor in the past decade? Have you seen a change with the new administration? Has there been more opening? Can you talk a little bit about your perspective over the past few years there?
Well, there definitely seems to be more openness now. I will say, though, even in the prior administration, we have always focused, and this is not just me as a president, but I think the whole philosophy of OFT and our current legislative director, Daryl Johnson, there's always been this thought process that we need to work on building relationships with people on both sides of the aisle, and that we need to always be ready to bring solutions to the table. It's not just about going in and saying, no, we don't like this. It's about bringing solutions to the table. So in the past, I think we were successful in having some of those conversations and sitting down even with Governor Kasich and having some conversations. But there is a different feel now in that when we listen to Governor DeWine talk, he definitely seems to have some focus on children. So that gives us more of an open door to talk about our commonalities and how we want to progress with that. And there doesn't seem to be, throughout the whole, from Larry Householder, Governor DeWine, all the way through, there doesn't seem to be this attack on labor that we felt like we've lived under for a while. So now I think we do have this opportunity where we've got 38 Democrats, and we've got some openness on the other side of the aisle to, instead of being reactive to things, started to think proactively where some places where we can find common ground and pass some good legislation that will be beneficial to all of us.
Yeah, I was at the State of the State last week, and there was a standing ovation for teachers.
It was a wonderful moment.
Right? And
yes.
I was saying, this would be very different than 8 years ago at the
Yes.
State of the State, just sitting there at that moment.
Well, yeah, 8 years ago it was, we're going to run you over with the bus.
Right.
And then a few years later it was, we need to do away with teachers' lounges because teachers are sitting there and bash the governor all day or something along those lines. But yes, to have that, not just the governor saying it, but for this, this legislative body to stand up and cheer for teachers. I think this is a moment that teachers have been waiting for quite a while. And we've seen this tide change happen across the country.
Right.
When you look at all the teacher walkouts that have happened across the country and the successful strikes that have happened across the country, we've seen that the public has been fully behind this. So, a decade ago, teachers are going through this public bashing and everything was teachers' faults. And now we've seen this gradual evolution to, we're back, we're back 180 degrees now where people are saying, no, our teachers are actually pretty valuable to us and we need to start showing them that recognition. So it's a great feeling. Now we just need to get policy to match
Right.
that.
It's one thing to get the ovation. It's another thing to get the proof in the budget pudding, right?
Right.
What do you think happened there? What's the change over the past decade that has moved? My brother-in-law, for example, is a teacher in Louisville Public Schools, and so they had a walkout last week, and the support of the community has been, it's actually Jefferson County in Louisville, Kentucky, but it's over their pension issue there, and so a lot of this work is happening across the country, even in like states that don't have a lot of workers' right, like Kentucky. What do you think the change is? Why is that happening right now?
So to a certain degree, I think the support has always been there for teachers. Over the years when we've seen these Phi Delta Kappa polls and everything else, it's always been that people love their local teacher, but there is this overall arching picture of public education is bad or overall teachers are bad. And I think that was a narrative created by a lot of policymakers and by the media, et cetera. And now I think we're just seeing this groundswell of all these people who say, no, we actually like our local we like our teachers, are starting to see opportunities to stand up and show that support for teachers. And again, when you look at what these walkouts are really about and what a lot of these strikes are about, at the heart of it, I think parents see that it is about having lower sizes in classrooms so that their kids can have more one-on-one attention. It is about getting librarians back in school. It is about getting those intervention specialists. So I think that even though the larger narrative, people try to make it about these selfish public school teachers, the parents are saying, no, these teachers actually care about our kids and we need to support them in what they're doing.
It's very exciting. And, I mean, we're in this room with, all Republicans, frankly, and that they did that last week was something else. So I do. I'm glad to see it, and I hope to see more of it, and we hope that it will bear out in some policy changes here in Ohio, right?
Yes.
So has there been people, Melissa, that you've been really proud of that you've helped, along the way that are women that are now seeing them do some great work in leadership?
So one that comes to my mind immediately is Alyssa Brookbank up in the Lordstown area. Alyssa several years ago was very insecure in her leadership abilities, and even to the degree where she thought she wasn't allowed to talk to her superintendent.
Oh, wow.
If she had an issue, she needed to call us, and we deal with the superintendent. And we have had multiple conversations with her, and we've worked with her over the years about empowering her to be a leader and empowering her to talk to her local superintendent and to make these decisions. And now she's really leading the charge in the Lordstown area around this GM plant closing and working with the UAW and the community and the Drive at Home campaign to say we need GM to stay here and mobilizing her members around that. So it's been incredibly satisfying to watch this leadership growth and to see what the potential is there even for more growth. But I would say even a smaller level, it's not so much particular individuals. It's trying to be more conscientious about what I'm doing on a daily basis to support women. I'm being much more conscientious about that than I have in the past. But showing up at women's events, if a woman's having a roundtable discussion or something, just making sure that I'm there so they know there's support there. It's about trying to create more family-friendly policies, even within our workplace, not just for the women, but for the men too. That if you have a parent that needs your attention, or you have children who are sick, that you don't need to feel guilty about missing work, but we'll figure out a way to get the work done and still take care of your family. So it's those small decisions on a day-to-day basis that I hope helps women feel more comfortable in the workplace and helps them arise in their leadership.
That's awesome. Well, I'm certainly grateful for all the work you're doing. I see it in action, so it's fun. It's fun to watch and witness and benefit from. So appreciate all you're doing. Okay, so we're getting ready to wrap the discussion up today. Just have a couple of questions I like to ask every person I interview. Our favorite question, since we are here in Ohio, is when you think of the word of Ohio, you think of what?
Home.
Home?
Yes, it's always been my home. I've never lived anywhere else. I don't have a desire to live anywhere else. And what's funny is when I was younger, I thought that I really wanted to go somewhere else. And since I've gotten this job, I've had the opportunity to travel all across the country, all around the world. And I've really come to appreciate that Ohio is such a beautiful state. I mean, the geography of it is beautiful. I like the changes of seasons, although I'm tired of winter now.
Me too.
And it's just, it's where my family is. It's where my heart is. So when I think of Ohio, I think home.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I love it. And I'm ready for a new season too. So
yes.
I feel you there. And then who is the woman leader or woman activist throughout time, if you had to choose one, that you think is just the most amazing?
Wow, and I can only choose one?
Yes, just one. You can say I have an honorable mention, I guess. So.
Okay. Well, my top woman leader would probably have to be Michelle Obama. Even though she didn't hold that official title of President of the United States, I think she could be if she wanted to be.
Right. She was amazing. She is amazing.
And she's just an amazing woman who shows such a quiet strength in everything that she does, and that ability to raise a family under the circumstances that she raised a family under, to be probably the most popular woman
right.
in the United States, and just her ability to lead without holding an official leadership position, I think, is amazing.
It really is.
But my honorable mention would have to be Randi Weingarten, our AFT president, because she really has risen to be the labor leader in the United States. And she cares not only about education, but about people in general, about labor issues in general, and just works tirelessly 24 hours a day to make sure that workers' rights are met. So I really have a lot of respect for her also.
She is a true force, and
Yes.
I love women that are forces. So
Yes.
it's fun to watch her and watch what she says, and even like her impact on the 2020 election for president. Like people,
Yes.
I mean, they really go around asking like, well, and they'll say, well, what does Randi say? So I hear that across the country. So
Right.
you're definitely right. It's great to have a woman doing that work. So.
Yes. I just hope she doesn't mind that she's honorable mention too.
Well,
Michelle
I mean,
Obama, yeah.
to be the honorable mention to Michelle Obama isn't a terrible thing. I think she'll be okay with it. Well, Melissa, it's a pleasure to be here and for you to be here with me. And I just want to say thank you for all you do for Ohio and all you do for our children across the state and for people working hard to educate this future workforce. It's pretty awesome.
Well, thank you, Nan. It's an honor to be here, and thank you for all the work you do also. You're a role model yourself.
Thanks. All right, have a great day. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Carry As You Climb. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at CarryClimbPod. Also, visit our website at carryasyouklimbpod.com to sign up for our latest updates. Also, please subscribe and rate us on wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.